No one intervened.
Oh, l'amour, how it can let you down. How it can pick you up again. That is one of my most cherished quotes from the movie The Women from The Countess de Love. The movie came out in 1939, and I first saw it on TV in either my late teens or early 20s. I've been fascinated with it ever since. The women in the movie are centered around a wife who is dealing with a marriage in trouble. She is surrounded by her supposed gal pals, who are the biggest bunch of sassy broads to ever grace Manhattan. There is a word I'd use for them, but this is a family-friendly podcast, but you know what I mean. It is a humorous romp from start to end, and there isn't one male character ever shown on screen. There is a great manicure scene that has had me painting my nails exclusively jungle red for decades now. But at the heart of the movie, this great movie, is relationships. Relationships between friends and those of the romantic kind. Relationships and maintaining healthy ones is the topic for today's podcast. Thankfully, I'm not alone today in discussing this topic. I am joined by my husband, Kevin. Hello, and welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
I'm so glad you've come to chat with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
A marriage, like other relationships, takes time and attention. With Valentine's Day coming up, it seemed like a good time to talk about relationships. The cornerstone of a romantic or a platonic relationship is friendship. But how do you strengthen that connection? One way is making time to do things you have in common.
But you don't have to have absolutely everything in common. It's good to have different interests too. You don't have to be clones of each other to have a good relationship. And one of the things that's good is to occasionally engage in the other person's interest. But you don't have to try to be engaged in all of them.
It is important also to respect the other person if they just don't like that thing. Don't force them. That is never going to make anyone happy in the long run.
No, it is not.
Like, for us, video games.
Video games, yes. I have been a lover of video games since I was 8 years old. And this was something that I was very much hoping to share with my spouse. But Jacqui just wasn't interested.
No.
And so what I said, you know what, that's fine. She's not interested. It'll just be my thing.
Yeah. That's just, for Jacqui, video games are a hard no. Not gonna.
Very hard no.
I just don't like them. I just don't find them fun.
Except for a few moments of Wii bowling, but that was it.
Yes, I almost gave Kevin a heart attack. And now there are other things that he has said, hey, I like this, and I've been willing to give a go towards.
Yes.
D&D.
Say D&D. That was something I've been interested in since I was like 10 or 12. And yeah, we decided with our in-laws and our nieces to have sort of a family D&D adventure. And you were actually willing to give that a go. And it's been pretty fun.
I signed up. I was game for that. That was okay. Now, besides sharing common interests, you can also find something that's new to both people that neither one has any knowledge or background in. That the spark or thrill of doing something unfamiliar to both is really satisfying. Kevin and I went up to Mackinac City to see the Blue Ice a few years ago.
That's so cool.
It was amazing. It was fantastic. And it reminded me a lot of our honeymoon. And it was just, neither one of us had ever seen the Blue Ice.
Yeah, never seen it. And it was a very spur-of-the-moment thing, which was very unusual for me. I think
oh my gosh.
I think we saw it on
the planner,
Friday night, and went up Saturday morning and came back Sunday.
Yeah, it was super quick. Now, for those of you who don't know, you got to Google it. Just Google Mackinac City blue ice that, depending on the right natural circumstances in the Straits of Mackinac in the winter, blue ice will appear and it will crash and kind of crush on the shores. And you see these large chunks of turquoise kind of
Oh
ice.
yeah, it's such an amazing clear blue, and it's almost like little mountains you can climb on. It's that solid.
And it's amazing and fantastic. And it was something that neither Kevin nor I had ever done. And so we went and we did this thing, and we talk about it all the time. And it was this shared thing that we were able to do for the first time together. And it was a real bonding experience.
Oh, it was so much fun. It really was.
Next, we're going to talk about some of the things that Kevin and I have in common, or that have helped keep us connected in our 2 years of courtship and 18 years of marriage. Some were new to us. Others were introduced to the other by the other. The first one is these audiobooks by Rex Stout, the Nero Wolfe series.
Yes, and we should really go back and mention that we first discovered Nero Wolfe when it was a TV show on A&E.
Yes, we should talk about. So go ahead and talk about the show.
Yeah, so in the show, Nero Wolfe is also the name of the main character, who is the eccentric genius who's adept at solving crimes, but never leaves his house and doesn't like to work. However, he does like money, which is the leverage his leg man Archie Goodwin usually uses to get him to work.
He does like money.
He does. Nero Wolfe has a very extravagant lifestyle, especially when it comes to food.
Really does.
Yeah, and Archie is maybe not a genius detective, but he's a top flight detective, as he says, and he really is. And he's the one that does all the hard work.
Now, what's really interesting about the show is that they have what they call a cast of players. And what that is they've got this cadre of actors, and they reuse them over and over again in different episodes, but they're not ever coming back as the same character for the most part.
Because each episode's a separate story.
Right. So you have the same actor who in one episode is the murderer.
And the next episode, he might be the victim. And the episode after that, he might be the butler at the fancy house.
And then he could be a lawyer. And the next one after, like, they vary. So it's really neat. Like, you get to see the range that these actors have and how different they can portray these different characters. And it's it's really fascinating.
It's really cool. They were such good actors. They could
super
be
talented.
Such a wide range of parts. Yeah.
Yes, it's fantastic. So, and that was our first couples murder TV show, and we have collected a lot since then.
Yeah, that's really become our thing.
It really has. So there's the A&E TV show, which are based on the books, and we found ourselves getting into the audio version of the books. And sometimes we would listen to the audiobooks on, we have these retro looking radios, and we would light a fire or candles or both.
And sit around the wireless and listen to the latest episode of Nero Wolfe.
Yeah. So it's kind of like this old timey feel. It was just something we both really enjoyed.
It's a lot of fun.
Another thing we really enjoyed was car trips, like when we're taking a road trip.
Yeah, they're great for long car rides.
Yes. They're really long novels too. So if you've got a way to go, Nero's going to get you there. And we would just pause all the time. Like, okay, we got to do a check-in.
We are notorious for this, yes.
On what are the facts? What do we know so far?
What do we suspect so far? What do we think did what? Yeah, we do this with audiobooks. We do this with our murder mystery TV shows. I pity anyone who'd ever watch these with us, because we drive them crazy because we're constantly pausing to speculate.
Oh, God, there's so much speculation. That is like our favorite. I think we do it just so we can speculate. Like that's
just to see if we got it right. And occasionally we do.
We do. Not always, but sometimes we do, and it's kind of fun. And then there is our character check-in because of the TV show, that we will be like, okay, so they've just introduced the the rich woman has come in to engage Nero.
So, like, who do we think is playing it? And like, oh, it'll be like, I think it was the same one who played the lady from the FBI episode.
Or it was the secretary in the champagne episode.
Yes.
Or, you know, like, and it's so funny. We often pick the same actor.
Yeah, and it's very common. That would just be like, oh, I was thinking it was this person. Like, oh, so was I. You know.
Yeah, so as we go along, we create our own cast of characters. So as we're listening, it becomes very visual. We are seeing this, and I see these actors in my head.
Yeah, it's especially easy with Nero and Archie, who were played by Timothy Hutton was Archie, and Maury Chaykin, I think it was Nero.
Yeah,
their performances were so fantastic and so iconic.
Wonderful.
And
Amazing.
they're some of the few characters that are the same throughout all the stories.
Yes.
They always played those characters. So yeah, those two are very vivid in my head every time we listen. And
the show is just, and the books, everything, it's just become really special to us that, you know, we laugh over the stuff.
Oh, there's some fantastic funny lines. There's some great insights. There's some great acting. So much fun.
And, you know, it's a way of cheering the other person up if they're down. And it's a really nice bonding experience. This is something that we have come to just want to spend time together doing.
Yep. We often, when we're feeling down, like, let's watch a Nero Wolfe.
And when we're driving, we do road trips. We're always making sure we have a Nero Wolfe audiobook for the trip. Or, you know, just listening at home, because that's what the show's over. But there's lots of Nero Wolfe books to listen to.
Thank goodness. Okay, our next shared interest is Vinyl Café, which is something that Jacqui actually introduced me to.
It is a radio program from Canada, hosted by Stuart McLean. And during the show, they would play music, usually Canadian musicians, and they often would do these travel shows as well, where they would go to these small towns throughout Canada and perform with these musicians. And they would also tell every week a story about this family who lived in Toronto.
The stories are great. The stories revolve around Dave, who is the owner of a record store. It also includes his wife, Morley, their children, Stephanie and Sam, and the cast of friends and neighbors in the town, and the hijinks that they get up to. And they get up to a lot of hijinks. Oh,
they really get up to a ton of hijinks. So I would listen to this back when I was single, before we met, and it was my weekend routine. I would put away laundry and clean up, and Stuart would kind of serenade me with the music and his stories.
Personally, I like the stories the best. They are often hilarious and quite frequently very touching. The first one that Jacqui played for me was Odd Jobs, which starts innocuously enough with, wouldn't it be great if there was a plug on that wall in the kitchen?
Right by the toaster. Yes.
And it quickly devolves into a massive kitchen renovation.
Oh, it was crazy. And it was really amusing. And I started this one with Kevin because we were in the middle of renovating his house.
So it hit home very well, no pun intended.
It really did. And
another great story is Polly Anderson's Christmas Party.
That is probably my favorite. I never, ever get tired of hearing that story. It is just ridiculous from beginning to end.
It is so funny. And it's a great example of Stuart's storytelling, where it starts out with something that seems very innocuous and kind of unrelated to anything else, and eventually, and I do mean eventually, circles back around to be relevant.
Yeah, that man is the master of the meander. And so we together eventually began listening to the show. We would buy the CDs, and we even went to the live concerts. And the live concerts were a lot of fun. I remember, especially what got for me was Stuart one time talked about how he's like, I know a lot of you guys are used to doing chores and stuff. He goes, so to make you feel more comfortable, in the back of the auditorium, I've set up a basket of laundry and an ironing board, so you can feel right at home. And everybody was laughing in the whole auditorium because, yeah, that's what we would do.
Stuart was great about making those concerts feel very intimate. I remember more than once at the live shows where he said that it often felt like spending an evening in someone's living room. And he had an amazing ability to do that. It really did feel that kind of friendly and intimate, and you were spending a night with a good friend and swapping stories.
And the last few years, we've begun actually sharing these Christmas stories with our own families.
Oh, yes.
That he's got a whole bunch of Christmas stories. It's a whole CD of them.
Oh, yeah. There's lots. And if you don't think there's, one more crazy thing Dave can do during Christmas, he can.
Yeah. Yeah. He specializes in Christmas shenanigans. And the show also became something for us to share grief over.
Yeah.
That Stuart passed away in February of 2017.
And that was hard, because he was such an important part of our lives at that point, and such a great storyteller. And, it was a source of joy. And it's also a source of comfort, because it's sad that he's gone, but we both have someone we can share that grief with, and it kind of softens the blow a bit, that when we're feeling sad, remember when we went to the concert and we saw, and we told this great story and we had this great music, and it helps with the remembering the happy times as well as the sad.
It does. And it is nice when you've got those common things, that you have these things that bond you together in joy and in grief. And grief is easier when you've got somebody to share it with. And and it's just it's nice. And I like the fact that I know that this is something I've introduced Kevin to, that he has become fond of.
Very fond.
And it's become like our thing, and it just makes me happy. Kevin introduced me to our next item, the Adventure Zone podcast.
Oh, love the Adventure Zone. Fell in love with it right away. It's a podcast by the McElroys, who do many other podcasts. And these are 3 grown adult brothers and their father. And in this podcast, they play D&D. One of the brothers is the Dungeon Master. Another brother is Taco the Wizard, Taako. The other is Magnus Burnsides the Fighter. And the dad plays Merle Highchurch, the Dwarven Cleric of Pan, which is hilariously because you don't often get Dwarven clerics of a nature god.
So I know some of you are thinking, okay, this sounds super, super geeky, and it's couldn't possibly be anything that interests me.
It is super geeky.
It's way funnier than it sounds, folks.
It really is, because they are not bogged down in the rules of D&D.
Oh, this is some Wild West D&D playing. And yeah, so Kevin listened to this podcast quite a while ago, and he loved Adventure Zone. How do I know?
Because I kept telling her the jokes.
Oh my God, he wouldn't shut up. That's every day, every other day, he is talking to me about, oh my God, Magnus did this. Taco from TV said this. I'm like, oh my gosh, just shut up about this stupid podcast. He just kept going on and on about it. And then, so we're on vacation. We're up in our beloved Petoskey, Michigan. And they have this great local bookstore.
Oh, yes.
And it's an independently owned one. And we go in there and we're going to buy books because that's what we do, because we're nerds. We buy books on vacation. And I'm getting away from Adventure Zone. Well, oh no, I'm not.
Oh, no, because they had the first 2 graphic novels detailing the first 2 story arcs of the Adventure Zone. Yeah.
So on vacation, I still can't get away from Adventure Zone.
Because, I bought those.
Oh, he did. So for a long time, I was very resistant to this Adventure Zone.
Yeah, I think I had suggested it once or twice and just not interested. But then when you were recovering from ankle surgery, and we were talking about how in the past we had enjoyed sitting together at night and listening to Christmas music and reading, we were trying to figure out if there was something similar we could do. And I thought, well, you played D&D with the family and you thought it was fun, and the Adventure Zone is very silly and not really bogged down in the rules of D&D. So I thought, well, maybe let's try listening to Adventure Zone and see if you like it.
That I've had ankle surgery before, and I was having it again, and it's the recovery time it's slow going, limited mobility, and very painful. And during that time, Kevin really has to become my nursemaid.
Yeah, it's fetch and carry for everything because you can't put any weight on your foot. You're very immobile.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
And it really puts a strain on our relationship because we're not partners as much anymore, as now he's this servant that has to do things for me. And that we learned from the last time that it was important to have this connection time. And so that we would have these moments where we would connect as friends, and it kept our personal relationship time together. So I was like, okay, I will listen to Adventure Zone. I will give this a go. If I hate it after a few episodes, we'll go find something else.
Yep, and that's always the fair deal. Like, give it a few episodes because sometimes things take a little while to get going. But if you don't like it, you don't like it. We'll do something else.
And so I said, sure, we'll do it. And okay, I hate to admit it.
You want to.
It was really, really funny. I enjoyed it a lot. I laughed, and I needed a laugh so bad, so much. Like, it was a hard time. And I really looked forward to our night ritual of we would get together and we would put on the podcast and we would listen, and it would calm me down, and just, I would laugh so hard, and then it was time to go to bed. And,
yeah, because Taco, Magnus, and Merle are not what you would call competent.
No. and what I also loved was hearing the brothers and their relationships with each other.
Yeah, and their father. Yeah,
yes.
It's really, really cool.
Yes, it was a great family dynamic, and we're starting to be like, okay, I think that's the youngest brother. That's got to be the oldest brother.
That's the middle child.
Definitely. And it really helped. And so that's been our most recent shared interest with each other that we've had. And that kind of concludes our shared interest portion of the podcast. So, Kevin.
Yes.
How did you feel that when a friend, myself included, among your friends.
Oh, yes.
How did you feel when a friend tried something that was your thing, your interest, when they did that? How did that make you feel?
It was really neat. And yeah, it made me feel like they respect my interest in this, that it's something worth at least trying, that like, okay, well, my friend likes this, so it can't be too bad. I'll at least give it a try. And what's nice is like, yeah, if they don't like it, well, they tried it. They just didn't like that thing. It's not that they don't like you. It's just, okay, that just your thing wasn't their thing this time. What benefit do you feel has come from sharing our common interests amongst us?
Well, I think when you share common interests with friends, it bonds you. You feel like you're on the same team. And there's also kind of a spark of the newness. Like when you first meet somebody, romantic or platonic, there's kind of this rush of excitement, and everything feels new and shiny. And we kind of lose that over time. Relationships of all kinds settle and get comfortable, and that's kind of good. I mean, you want your relationships to feel kind of reliable,
right?
And
you want
stable.
That familiarity, that reliable. You said the reliableness.
Yes, absolutely. Like that kind of some unconditional feelings, but you still occasionally want some thrill, some buzz, and when you try these new things, or you have an ongoing shared experience, those can bring that thrill back to a romance or platonic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. And Kevin, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me on the podcast. It really was fun, and now we have a new shared interest.
We do indeed. Do you have any tips or examples of how you connect and share in your relationships? Be they friend or lover. I would love to hear them. Please share on my Jacqui Lents author Facebook page. I'll include the link in the episode description. If you're enjoying the podcast, remember you can follow on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music. They come out every other Thursday. I would be delighted if you left a review. I hope you will come back for our next episode when I chat in person with the man at the center of the Porta Potty Mystery from episode 2. I want to close this episode with another quote from The Women. The first person to speak is Mary, also known as Mrs. Stephen Haynes. Mary is at a fashion show and in the changing rooms having a fitting done. Across the hall from her, she learns is one Crystal Allen. The woman Mary has discovered is the mistress to Stephen, her husband. Mary goes into Crystal's changing room and finds the other woman trying on a revealing negligee. This is their exchange, with Mary speaking first and Crystal getting the last word. May I suggest, if you're dressing to please Stephen, not that one. He doesn't like such obvious effects. Thanks for the tip, but when anything I wear doesn't please Stephen, I take it off. That movie really is cattiness at its finest. Thank you for joining me for this chat, and I wish you well.